Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be going to Unreal Fest 2023, which is a yearly convention for folks who use Unreal Engine, and that can be anyone in the film industry, game industry, automotive, etc. So this is my first year going to Unreal Fest, and basically this is sort of like a video or a vlog, whatever you want to call it, to sort of give you guys the experience of what Unreal Fest is like if you have never attended it. Also, I'll be covering over some of the different things that I learned from the various different sessions that I attended, because they did have different live training sessions. Also had the opportunity of interviewing some Epic Games employees over on the Expo floor. Things like the Metahuman Animator, Epic Developer Services. I also even got to talk to the folks over at Sony Mocopi, and so it'll be at different parts of this video. There was a lot of stuff going on this year. The venue was absolutely massive. All of the food was catered and it was pretty good. Also, I guess Snoop Dogg was there as well. So stick to the end of the video if you guys want to see all of that. But yeah, this video will have a lot of timestamps, so if you want to skip ahead to any part of the video, you can click down on the chapter selection and you can skip ahead to, say, the interviews, or if you want to go to the live training sessions, you can just use the timestamps or the chapter selection below. So yeah, this journey basically started out with me driving to the airport. So I actually live an hour away from the airport, so after we got the car all parked, I got on the plane, and luckily I only live like the next state over, so it's only about an hour and a half flight away from New Orleans. And a lot of people I talked to actually traveled even internationally to get here. So some folks, like developers of CD Projekt Red, were there, and I believe they're based in Poland, so yeah, that's definitely a long flight for them. Once I landed in New Orleans is around 4 p.m. so I took the Uber to my hotel to get all checked in, and it is basically Monday or day 0 of Unreal Fest. So really the only thing that's going on today is basic registration for the event, and that's going to be happening at 5 p.m. So once I got checked into the hotel, I'm going to give you guys sort of like a brief hotel tour here, and then we're going to go ahead and walk over to the convention center and pick up our badge and get all registered. So yeah, this is the hotel room. They have like this bulk discount on the rooms, so if you are planning on going, you can get a pretty good deal on it. We can actually see the convention center from my window, so it's really only like a block away. Also very nice weather this entire week. But yeah, here is the hotel room. We have a little bathroom tour here, but basically the plan is to quickly get everything unpacked from my bag, then head over to the convention center to pick up stuff like my badge and get all registered for the event. And I heard they should be serving some light snacks and drinks. So yeah, let's go ahead and head out. Luckily, the hotel I booked is literally right across from the convention center, so it takes less than about 5 minutes just to walk there. But yeah, let's actually talk about the venue. So the venue is absolutely massive. It spans over 3 or 4 different blocks. I guess it's like a mile long, but yeah, here's me vlogging or attempting to vlog. I mean, it's absolutely cringe, so I just spared you guys a secondhand embarrassment, and I'm just voicing this whole thing over. But yeah, this is just how long the sidewalk stretches. This is all the venue here on the right. Here are the main doors. As you can see, we are entering in. We have the welcome to Unreal Fest banner up there, and over here is the line to the registration, so where you get your badge printed out and all that stuff. So I went ahead and got in line for that. The whole event is run off of this mobile app on your phone, so it holds all this stuff like the schedule, it shows things like the floor plans, and it pretty much has everything you need, even like the Wi-Fi password. So yeah, after we picked up our badge, I didn't show it, but they gave you a t-shirt and a swag bag. So we will be unboxing that, or taking a look at all the stuff we get from that later on in the video. But yeah, we went ahead and walked onto the expo floor. So here they are serving, light snacks and drinks. You can basically check out all the different booths and talk to some other folks. Now, all of the food and drinks for this event were actually catered, and they were included for free. So they served breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was pretty good catered food for the most part. Now, as for the expo floor, there are tons of different booths that you can go to, and all of the Epic Games booths had actual Epic employees you can talk to if you have any technical questions, and they're mainly just showing off some of the different features of the engine. We had like a booth for Metahuman Animator, Epic Developer Services, UEFN, Twinmotion, and there were other different companies that attended the event and had their own booths. So there was AWS, they had their own booth, Sony had their own booth, and yeah, you could talk to them, get some hands-on experience with their products, and I guess just see what they have to offer. So this went from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So basically it's sort of like socializing, networking with other folks. So this is actually a really good event to do a lot of networking. But yeah, that was pretty much it for day 0. Just basic, registration for the event, and getting to talk to other folks. But yeah, here I have the swag bag and the t-shirt that we got. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this. And I was actually excited to get some Unreal Engine merchandise. I mean, they need to start an online store for this stuff, I swear. But yeah, here's the t-shirt design for this year. They have a different design or theme every single year. So we have the Unreal Engine logo here on the front. And then, of course, you know, the Unreal Fest 23, New Orleans. And then you have a little Epic Games logo here on the side. But yeah, we have sort of this programmer design here on the back. You know, start Unreal Fest, .await, sync, network, learn, play, and spawn, create. So it's a pretty cool little design down the back there. But yeah, here's the badge that you get. And this has a little magnetic strip inside of it, so you can scan it at the various different training sessions that you attend. So that's how you actually get into them and how they count how many people attended the training session. But yeah, here's the swag bag. We're going to go ahead and check out what we got. First up, we have this Perforce Bumblebee plushie. I actually had no idea what this company does until I talked to the folks over at the booth. I guess they are the industry standard for source control, and a lot of companies have actually adopted Perforce for source control since it's sort of designed for large files and large projects like Unreal Engine. We also got these Unreal Fest Fortnite socks. They have like these little rubber duckies pattern on it, and also this AWS cable organizer. It says build Unreal Engine on AWS. Also, AWS was another attendee at the event. They had their own booth, and they're kind of just talking about the different services that they had to offer. We also have this pin. This is by far my most favorite thing out of the swag bag. I mean, it's basically the editor billboard icon from Unreal Engine. There's a bunch of lore behind this little icon, but basically you can find it inside of Unreal Engine if you add the billboard component to any actor. Pretty cool though, by far my favorite thing out of this bag. We have a couple of different promotional flyers, stuff like that, and also another pin, like this little rubber ducky with the sunglasses. I guess this is from Fortnite, I'm not really sure. I don't really play the game. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the swag bag, and that's everything that came included. I wish I would have yoinked another t-shirt somehow, but yeah, this is all the stuff that we get for this year. And yeah, that pretty much concludes day 0. Okay, so day number 1. So it's Tuesday, October 3rd, and it's 7 a.m. as you can see here, so I've just about woken up, and they're serving breakfast around 7:30 a.m. Like I mentioned before, all of the food here is included for free, so I started heading out to the convention center to go and get some breakfast. So here is basically like the short walk over to the venue. So at the venue, they have this massive dining hall with tons of seating, and this is where they served all the different meals for the day. So they had, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it was also a great way to actually network with other people. And like I mentioned before, this is a great convention for networking. I mean, there's just many different opportunities to sit down and have a chat with anyone. But as for breakfast, they were serving some pancakes, you know, eggs, bacon, potatoes, and fruit. And it was pretty good. They had all sorts of drinks as well. So they had, you know, orange juice, coffee, etc. Pretty much anything you can think of. But yeah, after breakfast, everyone headed over to the Great Hall, or the big conference room, where at 9 a.m. they are having the big Unreal Engine keynote. So usually this is where they reveal some sort of big news or new features to the engine. But yeah, walking in here felt actually pretty magical. I mean, they had all of these Unreal Engine demo reel showcase up on the big screen. I mean, it felt like a theater in here with like the surround sound, and just seeing the Unreal Engine logo on the screen makes you want to smile. But yeah, the keynote kicked off, and it started off with Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, talking about the recent news, basically addressing them laying off, 800 employees. And this is also where he mentioned the news about them switching Unreal Engine over to a per-seat license for Unreal Engine users other than game development. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth about that in this video because I made a whole separate video discussing that, so I'll link that in the description below. But basically, after his speech, we had a couple of other folks talk about some new features that were released in Unreal Engine 5.3, and a couple of other people from different companies talking about how they leverage Unreal Engine's features in their games or the movies that they're making. And you can actually watch the full keynote on the Unreal Engine YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description below. But at the very end of the keynote, we got a little surprise.
And as Bill mentioned, we are back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for a special session with Snoop Dogg and Cordell Broadus.
Basically, they mentioned that tomorrow night we're going to have a special guest, and I guess Snoop Dogg. So apparently he uses Unreal Engine. But anyways, that is happening later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. And it was funny because everyone was joking that maybe instead of him showing up, it's going to be some sort of Snoop Dogg AI, and that they would play as like some video or something. But yeah, after that, they sent us off to our training sessions. So if you've never been to Unreal Fest or never really heard of Unreal Fest, basically they have live training sessions from industry experts. So whether that be actual Epic employees or other people from other different companies, but generally speaking, this is the best event for getting more in depth or a more advanced look at how to leverage some of the different features of the engine, whether that be for games or film or whatever aspect of the engine you're using it for. And I've actually watched a lot of the training from past years, and you can even go back on YouTube and find some of the old videos online. They are still very good learning resources. Also, a side note, a lot of these sessions were actually live streamed, and most of them were recorded as well. So within the next few weeks, Epic should be uploading them to the official Unreal Engine YouTube channel. So I'll leave links to the ones that I attended and talked about throughout this video in the description below so you guys can check them out and watch them. So my first session that I was attending was called Blueprints: What, When, Why, and How. Basically, it was sort of a general overview of blueprints. So they talked about blueprint classes, events, all the different nodes, etc. And basically what blueprints are capable of. I actually learned quite a bit of tips and tricks. So every other slide had a few tips and tricks that you can use. Like one of them that I learned was the fact that you can actually create an event or function and make it callable in Editor. So basically what that means is when you hit this little checkbox, you can expose that function or that event as a button in the editor so that when you drag in the actor in the scene, you can have the little button which will actually fire off that event when you're in the viewport. So pretty cool. He also showed some different blueprint tools that you can create, like this physics scattering tool. You can spawn a bunch of rocks, simulate physics, and then bake them as instant static meshes. And he also showed off some different blueprint splines where you can make different paths and stuff like that. Basically just some other functionalities of blueprints other than, creating actual games. But you can watch this full session. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. They live streamed the entire thing, so it's actually up on YouTube right now. But yeah, next up I had my next session at 11 a.m. and I actually ended up skipping that so I could interview a couple of folks on the Expo floor to check out some of the booths. So it was actually the best time to do so because, everyone was in their sessions and there weren't too many people around. So yeah, here are the 3 different interviews that I did. I'll go ahead and cut to it right now. So we're here at Unreal Fest at the Sony Mocopi booth. And I'm here with Oscar.
And I'm just showing you a little bit of Mocopi. So it's basically 6 IMU sensors. You can see them right here, right? 6 IMU sensors, they pair Bluetooth to a smartphone device. And from the smartphone device, we can stream directly into Unreal. So here I'm using LiveLink in Unreal to animate the character, right? And of course, you can retarget to multiple characters. Doesn't matter what the skeleton is, what the proportion is, the style, doesn't matter. Pretty easy to integrate with Unreal and animate whatever character you want, whether it's for story development, for character animation in a game, or previs. But there's also some other uses that we're exploring that you guys can explore too. Is, for example, here I'm showing how I can attach the camera to the kangaroo and then drive the camera with my head, right? So where I'm looking, the kangaroo's looking,
wow,
and I'm
cool.
Also animating whoever I want, right? So you can attach cameras to wherever you want and then drive them like that. Can you hit next? One more time. And then here's, of course, Metahuman support. But the cool thing here is, because we're at Unreal Fest, we wanted to do something interactive. So I'm showing how you can put colliders, just basic Unreal collision, to trigger different functionality. So here is very simple, right? Turn on an effect, turn off an effect. But you can see, like, if I'm doing a show, like I could trigger a fireworks in the back, or it could be a game and trigger different particles effects, or I could be live streaming and be able to toggle cameras with the same mechanism. So here's my right hand, I'm going to go over here. Here's my left camera over here. So you can have control of what cameras you want to switch. Here's a middle camera, and I can trigger a level sequence. There's a collider in front of my face, which is invisible, which I triggered, and now
So are you triggering that yourself?
Yeah. So I trigger that. The sequence is playing now, so you can have whatever level sequence you want while animating live. There's also interactions with digital props.
Cool.
First shot,
Nice.
amazing. Right, I can summon a ball, right? Summon a ball.
So you're just doing that through the movement? You
Yeah,
can...
right. There's a collision above my shoulder, so if I raise
okay.
my hand, it summons a ball.
Oh, that's cool.
Summons a ball.
So
Right.
all of those like camera positions, you're just...
Right. Oh, so here I attach the camera to my hip, right? So if I move forward, the camera is going to move with me. If I move sideways, the camera is always on me, right?
Okay.
Let's go next. And then same thing. Yeah. Same thing, but I'm the goalkeeper now. All right. So you can make little mini games or interactive experiences. It doesn't only have to be
That's
recording
cool, yeah.
animation. You can get creative and create something cool. Okay. Can I have one? Oh my God, that was embarrassing. Oh, there it is. All right. Thank you. That's enough. Skip. Yeah, there's a skip. Yeah.
Sweet.
So, little brief rundown of it.
Sweet. Could you show me like the sensors?
So here it is if you want to come here. These are the straps, and these are the sensors. And this is what you would get, right? They all charge through one cable, USB-C.
Sweet. Well, thanks.
Appreciate it.
So we're here at the Epic Developer Services booth, and I'm here with. How do you guys say your name? Sorry, I don't want to butcher it.
Hi, I'm Rajan.
Tell me a little bit about, I guess, Epic Online Services and some of the different, I guess, game services that you offer.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of stuff here that we kind of have under the umbrella term of Epic Developer Services. It covers Epic Online Services, which is our back-end service solution for game providers. So if you need any of the functionality like to support multiplayer or player moderation, social ecosystem, that sort of stuff, that's all under the Epic Online Services umbrella.
Okay.
We also have Kids Web Services, which is a set of services that we also use within our own ecosystem, but it enables you to like make sure that the right audiences are playing your game, right?
Yeah.
So it manages youth audiences, it does parental verification, so there's a bunch of stuff in there as well.
Okay.
And
Like
then the
ratings and stuff like that?
it's mostly for like if your kid wants to play a game and they're under the age of consent in a specific country, there's a flow that we kind of help you manage where they can request consent from their parents and like that whole thing that you don't have to take into account all the different rules and regulations across all different countries, right? So it's an easier service to implement. And then the last thing under that umbrella is the Epic Game Store. So you can distribute your games under the Epic Game Store. Earlier this year, we launched publishing tools, so everyone can kind of take their game and self-publish through the Epic Game Store. There's a whole process that you can manage that way. You can integrate your game with services that we have on the Epic Game Store, like ownership validation and DLC, that sort of thing.
So what are some of the other services? I think like achievements, right?
Yeah, so for that, those things are all under the Epic Online Services umbrella, right? So you can implement achievements in there. There's leaderboards. There's free voice chats. Everything under the Epic Online Services umbrella is totally free to use. So there's obviously usage limitations in terms of hammering our services, but in general, the services are free to use. So there's all that stuff. And then there's a whole social ecosystem. So we have about 750 million accounts in our ecosystem. If you integrate that into your game, you can leverage those players immediately, right? All the friends connections that they have, all these things, so they can play together immediately as well.
Yeah, so also tell me about like cross-platform. I know that's also
absolutely. Look, cross-play, cross-platform stuff is super important to us. Like Fortnite was one of the first games that kind of pioneered all that stuff right into the ecosystem, and ever since we've done that, more games have kind of adopted it, but players also expect the same thing now from other games. So within the Epic Online Services, we do offer all the kind of components that enable that cross-platform experience. So matchmaking and sessions together, voice chat, all those things. We also have an overlay that's available across PC and consoles. So in that overlay, players can go and find their Epic friends as well as their native platform friends. So I can, if you're playing on Xbox, if I'm playing on PC, we both pop over in the overlay and I can just invite you to join my game directly through that mechanism as well.
Sweet. I had one more question. So I don't know, like, I guess, how you would implement like Epic Online Services. Is it like purely C++, or is it some Blueprint, or I guess like what's the roadmap on that? Or...
Yeah, so we have a couple different SDKs that we offer ourselves, which are C based or C# based.
Okay.
So depending on your language preference. There's also Unreal Engine has an online subsystem available for Epic Online Services, so there's a plugin to do it that way.
Okay.
Within Unreal Engine, there's also multiple other plugins that do things that we might not be doing. Like, for example, Blueprint support is not something that we have in our own online subsystem, but there are third-party plugins out there that support Blueprint, right? So there's an ecosystem building around it, which is super cool. Like, it's worth noting that Epic Online Services is engine agnostic, so there's also stuff out there if you're creating your games in Unity, or if you're creating some other engine that there's support out there from the community with plugins
for other
that exist.
engines.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else I guess you want to...
No, that's it. Like, if you want to check it out, like I said, it's free. So if you go to dev.epicgames.com, you can get started and like explore stuff yourself, and
Sweet.
Check it out.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're here at the Metahuman booth with, what was your name?
Gaurav.
Laura? Okay. And so I'm going to try this out here.
Just come a little close. Yeah. More. Yeah, that's about it. A little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, remove the cap. Perfect. Right, so what we'll be doing is basically just making sure your depth imaging is correct over here. Just come a little close until your nose becomes black. No, don't lean. Just come close. Come close. Just here. Yeah, I think it needs to be a little bit up. Right. So this is cool. What we're going to be doing is basically recording your. You're going to be following my finger.
Okay.
And when I move to the right, to your left, you just rotate your body. Like this, come back, rotate, come back, and you give me a smile. Yeah, show your teeth. Correct. That's good. Close. You're going to do this now when I say. Name is Liam. Liam, take one. Ready, Liam?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Smile. Close. Perfect. Right. Now we're going to record you doing some act.
Okay.
Right? So you can think of what you want to act. Okay? Go.
Okay, this is a test. I'm just testing this out, just seeing how it goes. We're here at Unreal Fest, and yeah, we're gonna see how this turns out.
Perfect. Come over. So this is done. Just importing these two to the queue and ingesting the footage.
Okay.
Yeah, here it is. It's come in. Putting it home. Takes a few seconds and makes it available.
Yeah. So is this a iPhone 12 or?
So any iPhone device that has got depth sensor would work.
Okay.
So I'm going to create the ID first, and this is the creation of your digital avatar, right?
Okay.
And Liam ID. Okay, I'm going to add the footage. Liam, take one. All right, perfect. So this is nice. I'm going to use this for capture your face.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second keyframe. And move.
So you just keyframe the.
We just chose the 3 keyframes that are going to be used for reconstruction.
Okay.
And let's solve for identity. It takes a few seconds and it'll be done. So what do you do, Liam?
I just do like a YouTube channel, tutorials and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Now it's time to give a generic body. Just using something that's already there and just hitting the mesh to Metahuman. Okay, so the rig is being done. As you can see, It's waiting for Metahuman backend, and this is where it hits the servers and comes back. Right? We do not send any data, any video that is there or audio that we captured. It all stays locally. Right?
Okay.
Nothing is going on the server.
So what's going on in the background? Is it like solving it or what?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's what it is doing. All right, it's done. It's time to make sure that we have your teeth fit correctly here. So I'm just going to add the pose and add teeth and find a frame where we can see the teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, looks good. Let's solve it. Perfect. Fits it and prepare for performance. That's all. Yeah.
It's pretty fast too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Like sometimes it feels like magic. So what part of UE you kind of work with, or
Mainly like games and stuff.
okay, are you planning to use metahumans for your game?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking into that, and also I want to kind of get into film as well. So just just all of it really.
Yeah, nice. And this is the bit that takes most of the time because it's certainly it's
training.
training the entity. Once it is created, we can apply any animations on it.
Oh, okay. So how long have you worked over at Epic?
Oh, about a year and a half.
And you're just on the Metahumans?
No, I'm primarily a solutions architect for media entertainment, and I work with animation and visual effects studios, help them transition to Unreal Engine.
That's great.
Yeah, done. Bread. Now I'm creating the performance. So create Metahuman performance, Liam Perf. Okay, I'm just going to use your take 2, and using your ID. Okay, so this was.
Okay, this is a test. I'm just
Yeah.
testing this out to see how it goes. We're here at
Right, and doing this ending. And I'll just process this range. So it takes the animation pass, after that it'll do a cleanup pass and it'll be ready in a minute.
Alright, sweet.
Yeah. Almost there. Perfect. This is the cleanup pass. Ready.
Sweet.
So
Okay, this is a test. I'm just testing this out to see how it goes. We're here at the fest. And yeah, we'll see how this goes out. Let's see. Wow, that was
Yeah.
fast. And yeah, we're gonna see how this goes out. Cool.
yeah,
You can switch out like the mesh for a different character.
we can switch out. Right, I can. Right. Yeah. So once it is there, we can switch out the meshes and
Yeah.
do all of that fancy stuff.
Sweet. Other thing you want to add, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah. Do try it out. It's available.
Sweet, thank you.
So after those interviews, it was around 12:45 or lunchtime. So I went ahead and grabbed some lunch. I didn't record it, but it was pretty good. I think it was chicken and rice, if I remember correctly. But after lunch, the next session that I had on my schedule was called Building Mobile Games with Unreal Engine. Now this session was not live streamed, but it was recorded, if I remember correctly. So as soon as they upload that, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But this is a very good session. I mean, it was sort of like an overview of everything that you need to be aware of when creating mobile games. Like the three main things that you need to focus on when making mobile games is things like the gameplay. So this includes also stuff like the touch input. Then you have performance, how well it will run, and then finally content. So you have those three different things. And the main key takeaways from this session, for me at least, was that when you're designing the gameplay on mobile, it's super important to have really good input that feels responsive. So basically most mobile game players actually play without audio. So it's super important to have really good feedback and also the ability to customize things like the layout of the UI on mobile. This is also a very big point that he stressed a ton. As for the performance side, on some phones, he actually mentioned that they will overheat when playing your game. So he gave a couple of tricks to actually combat that, basically to cap the FPS in loading screens or in menus, so that will give the phone time to cool down while you're loading your next match or whatnot. Yeah, so there were also many other different great tips from this talk, and hopefully it will be available soon here on YouTube. But yeah, definitely I learned a ton from this particular session. But yeah, after the first afternoon session, they have sort of this 30-minute drink and snack break. So they have all sorts of snacks and refreshments, and they actually have two of these different breaks, one in the morning after breakfast, so it's sort of like a brunch, and then they have one in the afternoon at 3 p.m. And they don't skimp on the snacks. I mean, they have all sorts of snacks and drinks during these breaks, and also because this venue is massive, they had like 5 different locations throughout the building where they had these different snack locations at. And it's funny because I didn't even realize how long the venue was until I had a session that was literally on the other side of the building. Like, I had to walk 5 minutes just to get over to that part. But yeah, after the break, I headed over to my second to last session for the day, which was extending Unreal Engine to create the StoryTech of Hogwarts Legacy. This was an absolute gold session. I mean, I highly recommend watching this. In fact, it was also live streamed, so I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But essentially, this was one of the developers from the game Hogwarts Legacy. They used Unreal Engine 4 to develop their game, and in this session, they talked about the story tech behind their game. So basically, they broke it down into 3 different categories. So they had things like cinematic storytelling, where they have a high quality narrative. They had missions, where they would have like medium resolution narrative, and then they'd have ambient storytelling, which is sort of like background behavior. Then they further broke down the cinematic and mission storytelling into 3 different categories. So the 3 different categories were bronze, silver, and gold storytelling. So basically for the first one, bronze cinematics, this is sort of like your average run-of-the-mill RPG questing system. So for this, they use auto-generated cinematics. So basically sort of like a data table of all the different voice lines, the options. They had these preset camera angles, and everything was just auto-generated. So it's just a very basic, questing system that you see in most RPG games. Then from there, they had what is called silver cinematics. So this is, more work than the auto-generated cinematics, where they have, maybe a little cool camera cut, pan, or angle. And maybe they also have the character doing some custom animation or walking around during the cinematic. Then from there, it goes all the way up to the gold level cinematic. And this is where they have an actual production team working on it. They have all these different fancy camera angles, things like character interaction. And they really make sure to polish these cinematics and make them, memorable to the player. And so with this, they said that their game consisted of, 24% gold cinematics, 21% of silver cinematics, and then 55% bronze cinematics. So it kind of just gives you an idea of how they balanced all the different cinematic types and the work that they did on the storytelling in the game. So yeah, pretty decent balance overall. Obviously, they can't all have gold level cinematics. So this is what allowed them to have, a lot of storytelling content, especially when you're working with something like a massive RPG game. Now, behind the actual tech side of what they used, they mentioned they created their own proprietary system called StoryGraph. This is like one of their custom tools that they created for the game. But yeah, this was the StoryTech for Hogwarts Legacy. It's a really good session. I learned a ton from this. Kind of makes me want to make my own, story-driven game. But yeah, after that session, I had my last session for the day, which is also another Hogwarts Legacy session. So this one in particular was titled Hogwarts Legacy, an inside look at developing a cross-platform open world game in Unreal Engine. So this one caught my eye because I wanted to see how they handled, the cross-platform aspect of developing their game. And this is more of a technical overview talk, and also detailed how they managed to create a game at this scale. And this is a very good talk. Unfortunately, they didn't live stream this one, but hopefully they recorded it and they will be uploading it soon. But essentially, they talked about how they had 10 different studios around the world working on this single game, Hogwarts Legacy, and how they managed to develop this game for many different platforms, such as PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Steam Deck. But what they had made for this game was this data collection Python script that allowed them to collect tons of data when they were playtesting the game and when they were running the demos. And so this is basically like a web application that they had created where it could sort through the performance and profiling tests that they ran, and it had it all organized by things like the build number, by the platform, and they could basically go in and see, okay, here is the build for the PlayStation 5. They could check each individual sub-level. They could see how the performance is in that sub-level, if it decreased or increased based on when they modified the level. And also they could check different metrics, like they could see a list of all the meshes in the scene. And this was just in their web app that they created. This is not like in Unreal Engine. They had a whole separate application that collected all this data and stored it in it. But yeah, it was actually crazy how they organized it and how they had it all set up. I mean, at the end of the speech, he basically mentioned that they collected something like over 60 terabytes of data in just, profiling tests and stuff like that. And this spanned over 4 years of, data collection. But in the end, they all used it to help reach their target budget for the specific platform, so they could ensure that certain scenes or certain levels would run performance on whichever target platform or target hardware they were building for. So it was sort of more for metric tracking and stuff like that. Again, it was a very good technical talk. Unfortunately, the only screenshot that I have from this talk is the list of the different modifications that they made to Unreal Engine. Since, Unreal Engine is open source and any big AAA game studio will actually undergo a ton of modifications to the engine, since they usually will have their own in-house, programming team. But yeah, here's a list of all the stuff that they modified. But that was pretty much it for Tuesday and all these sessions that I attended for that day. I actually got to meet a cool group of people, and we went out that night for some food at a local restaurant, and we had a fun time. But yeah, that basically concludes day number 1 of Unreal Fest. So day number 2, or Wednesday, we're walking over to the convention center, and I actually filmed what I got for breakfast. They had tons of food, things like this, gluten-free muffins. So I guess if you're gluten-free, you can have those. They had a bunch of donuts. Also, they had, the eggs, bacon, potatoes, pancakes, and then, of course, tons of fruit. But yeah, after breakfast, I headed over to my first session of the day, which was called the Electric Dreams Demo, from idea to demo. So this was a talk and overview of how they went from a concept to a demo, whole process of them figuring out that they want to create a demo that showcases all these new tech features that are coming to Unreal Engine. For the Electric Dreams demo, it took about 30 people to create in over 3 months time to create the demo from start to finish. And it was about 20 days of prototyping. They actually had to make a lot of improvements to the engine itself to handle this demo. Like, this is actually a common theme over at Epic, where they went in and improved rendering for stuff like lumen, scattering foliage. They also improved stuff like the nanite masked material performance, because they had this very dense forest and they wanted it to run more performant. So whenever stuff like this happens, they usually get over with the engineering team and they brainstorm things and think of different ways that they can improve the way that the engine will run. And it's just kind of cool to see that they will go in and actually improve the engine so that it can run better when they're actually creating stuff like these demos. But yeah, from there, they wanted to have, I guess, like a truck for their demo. And they wanted to use stuff like the Chaos vehicles for their setup. So they talked about all the different challenges that they overcame when they had to set up the vehicle model. So originally they started out with a very simple, truck mesh. They didn't have enough detail that they wanted. So what they did is they actually reached out to, I believe, the Rivian company. And so they got the actual Datasmith files of the vehicle, and it had something like 45 million triangles just on the body alone. So they had to modify this. They actually had to unwrap the mesh and make it so that they can apply things like textures to it. But I guess that process alone just took them like 1 week just to import that mesh into Unreal Engine because of how many triangles it had. Also, they wanted to set a target for performance. Originally, they wanted to have 60 FPS at 4K, but they ended up having to target 30 FPS for 4K because of, all of the detail in the dense forest scene. And throughout a lot of the talks here at Unreal Fest, they mention a lot target budget. So basically, it's very important to have certain budgets in milliseconds for certain features. So for example, they wanted to include stuff like Niagara fluids in this demo. So, they could have a scene where the truck drives through some water and has all these cool water particle effects. So essentially they set themselves a 6 millisecond target budget that the Niagara fluids would have to stay within. So it's just kind of cool seeing the different restrictions that they had to work with to be able to achieve their target goal of, 30 FPS for 4K. But yeah, it was a very good talk. It was more or less just a general overview. It didn't really get too in-depth about the actual process, and I should have it linked whenever they upload the session. But yeah, after that, the next talk that I attended was about state trees and smart objects. Now this was a very good session because I had no idea what state trees were, and they are relatively a new feature to the engine. In fact, they were added, I believe, in the City Sample demo or in the Matrix Awakens demo. And basically, state trees, they are sort of like behavior trees, but you can use them for creating complex AI and NPCs. And with smart objects, basically smart objects are essentially interactable things that you can create or that the AI or NPCs can interact with in the world. So in this talk, he showed us how to create an example project from scratch, where basically he created a smart object which was represented by a park bench, and then he created a state tree for an NPC so that the NPC's behavior would look for that smart object or that park bench, and then when it would find that park bench, it would go move to it and sit down at the bench. So this is a very good presentation because I learned a lot about the process and also about state trees and how they have a huge potential in the engine, because this is the same system that can be used with things like the Mass Entity plugin. So you can basically use this for sort of like an open world AI system. And this has lots of potential. And in fact, in the recent roadmap that was just released, they outlined a couple of new updates to the system. So I definitely think this is going to be a game changer for open world AI, and hopefully I can get a tutorial out on how to create this or how to use it, because I feel like this will be the industry standard when it comes to creating AI and NPCs. After this session, and actually a lot of the different sessions, they allowed you to ask the speaker some questions, but after the Q&A, I actually went up and talked to the speaker in person, and I went and asked him a question about the Mass Vehicle plugin. Basically, this plugin is what controls all of the vehicles in the Matrix Awakens or City Sample demo. And I asked him if the team over at Epic had any plans to bring this plugin outside of the demo and actually make it a standalone engine plugin that you can enable. And basically, he said that they do not have any future plans to work on it, which kind of sucks. I was kind of hoping to use this plugin for like a city roamer or GTA style game, but it seems like they don't have anything planned for the vehicle plugin. But other than that, I actually got his business card and contact info, so he said we can reach out to him if we have any additional questions. But yeah, overall a very good session. They don't have it uploaded to YouTube yet, but again, I'll keep you guys posted when they upload it. So yeah, after those 2 morning sessions, I had lunch. And then I had, again, 2 more afternoon sessions. So the first afternoon session was called Advanced Debugging in Unreal Engine. And this is a pretty fun and informative session.
Is everyone ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow, that was amazing.
The speaker, which I can't pronounce his name for the life of me, he did a great job. Basically, he showed us various different tips and tricks for debugging our code, and debugging is definitely an aspect of game development that is often overlooked. How many of us have used the print string node for debugging? This entire talk was just all the other different methods that are very useful for debugging. And this session was also live streamed, so I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But yeah, my last session for the day was called the Rendering Roadmap, More Data, More Speed, and More Pixels. So this is a really great insight into the Unreal Engine roadmap, which they had just updated. Basically, they went over what they are working over at Epic Games to improve the engine. And it sounds like they're working on a ton of refactoring and re-engineering their old code, so that the engine will run more performant. So in this talk, they outlined a lot of the new features that are coming to Unreal Engine 5.4. So if you want to have a good overview of that, I recommend you check out the talk. Again, this one was actually live streamed, so I'll have it linked below. But yeah, that was all of these sessions for the day. There was one more session that day, but I ended up skipping it because everyone was lining up at the Great Hall doors, since I guess Snoop Dogg was supposed to be making an appearance. So yeah, there was a long line,
and everyone was there an hour early. I mean, there was tons of people lined up at the doors, and it was funny because we were joking about how, what if it's just an AI Snoop Dogg and if he actually doesn't show up to the event. But yeah, they opened up the doors at 6 p.m. and as soon as they opened up the doors, everyone in line just started bolting, like sprinting towards the front row seats. So I had to run as fast as I could, and we made it to the front row. We got the front row seats, thank God. And yeah, Snoop Dogg actually showed up.
He don't play with me no more. We used to play competitive games, but I can't get with him now. He's different now. He's grown.
Yeah, I play Fortnite. I'm a Fortnite fan.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably wondering, why is Snoop Dogg at Unreal Fest? And it turns out, I guess he's actually hiring. Like, he is making a game studio. I guess he wants his own cut of the game industry. So yeah, he showed us some of his different work in Unreal Engine. Like, they made a music video where he mocapped some metahumans. Also, we got to see like a trailer for this animated movie that he was also working on in Unreal Engine where he played the main character. But yeah, it was a pretty funny speech. He was pretty chill.
Shout out to Epic Games for being the first company to actually make sure that the creators can get paid and be able to create. That's some G shit, y'all.
Kind of mic drop order from my perspective. Thank you so much for coming. Talk soon.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you shortly at the Sugar Mill for the after party.
And yeah, after the Snoop Dogg Fireside chat, I mean, the event was over, and basically they had the big after party. So everyone got up and we walked over to the Sugar Mill. So this is where they had the after party at. So this was located at a separate venue, which was just across the street. It was only like 3 minutes of walking there, and they had the street all blocked off to get to the venue. But yeah, here is the after party. So they rented this entire venue to host the after party. And I mean, they went all out this year. They had, free drinks, free food. They had set up all these arcade games. I mean, of course, it's a game developers conference. You gotta have some arcade games in here. But yeah, inside they had these different booths for food. They had all these types of dishes that you can eat. And of course they had a little dance floor and a little DJ there. But yeah, outside they had this food truck. I think it's one of the popular restaurants here. I'm not too sure what it's called. And then also right next to it, they had all these different free arcade games that they had set up. So you can go ahead and play them for free and win a bunch of prizes. So yeah, they went all out on the after party, and it went till like, 11 p.m. or even later. But yeah, it was pretty fun. We all had a good time. It was funny because everyone started, dancing on the dance floor. Like, started out with one guy dancing, and then eventually, a group of people joined in. Even Epic Games employees that were dancing. Everyone had a good time, and usually they have the after party on the last day, which is like Thursday. But I believe they had to reschedule it because a lot of people were leaving Thursday. But yeah, that basically concludes day 2 of Unreal Fest. So yeah, day 3 of Unreal Fest, or Thursday, which is the last day of the event. I went and had breakfast, and it was actually served at 9 a.m. rather than, 7:30 a.m. And yeah, not many people obviously showed up to breakfast. But yeah, the last day I went to one of the last sessions, which was called Against the Trend, using a realistic engine for stylized games. So basically this last session I attended was about a guy who had started out as a concept artist, and he decided he wanted to bring his idea of a game to life. So he started learning Unreal Engine, and he wanted to make a pretty ambitious game. He wanted to have a multiplayer game that was also mobile, and it used Unreal Engine. So basically it was his entire process, like creating a concept art, forming also a team of people to help create his game. Like, he took his concept of a character and he had someone model it, rig it, animate it,
and he basically did all the blueprint programming side of game design. And they actually ended up publishing their game, or their multiplayer mobile game, and he showcased, you know, just some of the different engine tools that they use, stuff like the modeling mode to create, you know, various different levels. And overall, it was a pretty good session, and you guys can actually watch this one because this one was also live streamed. Again, I'll have it linked below. But yeah, that basically concludes Unreal Fest, or at least all these sessions that I attended. I mean, there were a lot more other sessions that I couldn't attend because I was obviously attending another session. So hopefully they will have them all uploaded soon, because they did record a lot of them. But yeah, overall it was a pretty fun event. The venue was absolutely amazing. I mean, shout out to the event organizer, all the staff, also the team over at Epic. I mean, they did a great job this year. I mean, they went all out with the food. You know, everything was well organized. And even the staff, I mean, they kept the place really clean as well. They were cleaning the bathrooms pretty much the entire day and keeping the floor all organized and everything like that. So yeah, hopefully I can go next year. We'll have to see where they will be hosting the event next year. Maybe they will have it again in New Orleans, or if they'll have it in a different location. We'll have to see. But yeah, I had a great time, got to meet a ton of cool people, and got to talk to a bunch of folks over at Epic. And it was a really good event, and it kind of just gets you hyped up and wanting to go and use Unreal Engine. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the long video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.